Yeah, if you ask me, these tote bags came out magnificent. I waxed these, hand painted them, grid stitch, sashiko hand stitching, you name it. Some of these I even corresponded to my jeans. So you know I had to share it with you guys. And also I'm hosting a giveaway. This is a way for me to give back to y'all. And it's a free custom, by the way. So it's your choice of design. It could be a tote bag, it could be jeans, whatever. But yeah, good luck. We're gonna get right into this video. Let's go. Being an upcycler, I rarely make patterns. I mean, unless you want to count like flares and stuff, but it was good to step out my comfort zone and try something new. Now I went to my local fabric store, picked up some raw salvage denim, 12 ounces. So I got like 3 yards of that and some lining as well. I'm gonna have many different examples for this video. And of course I upcycled from some jeans, of course. I ironed them all up and cut 20 inches wide, 24 inches long. I just folded these up the long way, good sides facing together. And remember, the open side is on the left and the fold is on the right. I pinned up the fold side so you can understand which side is which, clear up any confusion, and iron it up flat. Make sure the points are where they're supposed to be, matching, symmetrical. Now I am gonna have a diagram while we do these measurements, just so you can either pause the video if I'm going too fast or anything. But now from the open side, we're gonna start measuring. So just go 3 inches over for the straps or however long you want them. And then I went 5 inches down, 4 inches over, and then 3 inches down, 7 inches over. And then I used this tool that I got from Michael's and connected all those dots. It makes almost a half circle in that top right corner where the fold actually meets. And then I finished it off with a 2x2 in the bottom left open side corner. Now those little squares are very, very important to shape this bag later on in the project. So I'm gonna let you see me do this again, just so you can get the motions down. And again, I got the diagram on the top right. Honestly, you can make this however big and small you want. So some of these I use the same measurements because that's my preferable measurement size for this bag. But I went a little bigger and I did some that are small, you'll see. Once you got that all cut out, you basically just made a template. So you can lay it over your lining or, any other projects you're gonna do. Now, I did a lot, so I just used the same temp on each piece, you know what I mean? And my straps were 3 inches wide, so I just did 3 inches wide by like 32 for the straps. But for some of them I use, the belt loop and stuff. So when you cut that out, this is what it looks like when it's unfolded. So technically we got the hard part out the way and it's time to get creative. This is my favorite part. Y'all already know. You can even customize the lining, add interior pockets and buttons. So just take your time, relax, and get creative with this. I know I did. Now I did some research. I wanted to see who holds the title for, the modernized look of the bag. Like, where did it originate from? LL Bean holds that title. Their design was so ahead of its time. We still use it to this day after decades. 1944. It was called the boat and tote icebox carrier. It's just crazy how one design can take off like that. So, I'm glad to do this, and I added all these to my shop, Gensysattire.com. We're gonna keep doing different, accessories, products, and stuff. Not just jeans, but we're gonna do a lot more. I will always do denim though, but yeah, I already know about the jeans. Also, this Boro and stuff, I do have a tutorial on my YouTube, so go check out that video if you're interested. Now for the lining, I wanted 2 interior pockets, and I also wanted some button snaps. You can add a zipper and anything, but I just hand sewn some buttons and also hammered in some snap chrome buttons. They just grab and hold through the fabric with little spikes. You can also add some fabric glue a little bit just to add some extra reinforcements, but I'll get into that more later. Let's get this bag together. So we're gonna put the good sides facing together and then pin or clip that up. I did a little explanation, so we're gonna do this in real time and I'll explain it to you. All right, so this is the lining. You don't need an exact measurement, but you're gonna leave this part open. You're not gonna touch these squares either till the end so you can shape the bag. So for the lining, you're just sewing across here. Don't do these. Do a little bit here, maybe like 2 inches on each side. Again, not touching the square, and you're going along this line. Then this is the actual bag, so you're just not gonna touch these little squares right here till the end. Again, just to shape the bag. So I'm just putting an X here just so I can visually see it personally. And then you can serge this or do a cross stitch or flatten the seams out and top stitch. Mainly for this part, the lining is the most important part, leaving that hole so later we can pull the fabric through to make sure the lining is inside the bag. Other than that, it's like you're sewing some flares. You're just gonna do a straight stitch and then serge it up or you can lay the seams flat like I said. Now for those little squares, you're just gonna pinch the corners and match those seams up. That's the most important part, match those seams. I just single stitched and then I did a serge. I also cut the frayed ends before I did that. So now the main denim is now shaped. You can see it, you can turn it right sides out. And remember, make sure you kept that hole in the bottom for the lining. So the main denim is facing the right way. Just take that lining and put it around so the buttons will be facing inwards. So basically the good sides are facing each other. So the main denim should be inside the lining and good sides facing together. You're gonna pin it up. I start at the center of the strap or the curve of the bag and work my way side to side. So when you start hitting it with the machine, just take your time around those curves. I'm using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Try to get a nice even stitch around this curve. Take your time, like I said. Then while it's inside out still, we're gonna snip little tabs so we can later pull them down and top stitch it. Just make sure you're not cutting through the stitch you just made. Once you successfully did that, you can turn the bag inside out, just reaching your hand through that hole on the lining and pulling the bag through. Pulling it through by the arms as well, or the straps, I should say. Then stuffing that lining back into the bag, and you could see the natural or the actual form of the bag now. All right, you cannot see it, but you can feel those little tabs. We're just gonna pull it down into the fabric, like the lining and the main denim are basically sandwiched together. And then you're gonna hit it with the iron, or you can also clip it as well if you want. But I kinda, when I stitch this and hit it with the machine, I kinda go with the flow, if that makes sense. Like, as I'm going, I start stretching the fabric, making sure it's sandwiched, going over. I take my time, but I try to still do long stitches to make it a smooth stitch on that arch. Now I'm using a thicker fabric, so this is very stiff when I'm, stitching this. So like, I'm kind of maneuvering it, trying to manipulate the fabric as best as I can, but it's already in that shape of the bag, stiff, like I said. So you gotta take your time and make sure you're stitching correctly. Once you finish that, now you can like close up the lining. You can just reach into the bag, pull it up, and kind of sandwich those together. I just fold it almost like a hem and put the two ends together. Remember this step because it's going to be real useful for the straps in a minute. Talking about the straps, I just did a double fold on it, and I also glued the lining so it matches and flows with the bag, and just top stitched it. I went all out for the straps. I made sure they all correspond to each piece. I use waistbands as well. I got very creative with this. All right, so now that double fold is gonna come in handy once again. So the last two holes that we gotta sew up are the arms. You're just gonna do a double fold, and you can iron it, you can mallet or hammer the seams, because this part gets really thick on the machine, at least mine. So I just hammered them down, making sure not to hit the buttons. And then I ironed it, and you literally just put the strap directly into the center. Make sure the lining is aligning. Make sure the outside is with the outside. Put it directly in the center. You can top stitch it and do a box and an X. So you're putting that strap at least an inch or two inside of the bag basically, and just doing an X, making sure those stay in securely. At this point, I just wanted to add some extra reinforcement, so I just did a regular square, a 1x1. Around all the buttons, so it doesn't put so much stress onto the lining and can potentially rip over time. So those are my reinforcements. I did some sashiko and stuff before I dyed some of these up. Oh yeah, I also didn't want the lining to kind of float around in there, so each corner of the bag I just hand stitched one little hand stitch, also with a color that complements these pieces. For the wax denim I just did black, but it makes it so it's not floating in there, and I love it. Also waxed them, as you can see. I'm amazed on how these came out, and I'm glad to make more in the future. Some of these are gonna match my denim, so it's gonna be a very good, accessory to my main product. My goal for these were obviously to keep them stylish and unique, but also to have good quality. That's why I added the pockets, the buttons, and most importantly, be able to do what it's designed for, hold stuff. I'm curious, if you guys tried this at home, let me know how it turned out. You can always add my Instagram, ask me questions about anything, because I'm a beginner as well. Even if you're not a beginner, we could share tips with each other and help grow our craft as a community. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna see you in the next video, and good luck on that the free custom giveaway. Go down to the comments. Remember, it's not gonna be too hard. I'm not gonna make you go to my Instagram or something and you do. Nah, it's just gonna be simple, almost like I'm pulling a name out the hat. So good luck, everybody. I have another video lined up right after this, so I'm gonna upload it very fast. And thank you for all the love and support. I'm gonna see you in the next. It's Genesis. We out.